Y dos. Y dos. Una. Y dos. Una. Y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortesnyc Livestream, the podcast.
This show broadcasts out of New York City
We are your hosts, Cortesnyc,
and Carla de Puerto Rico.
and on this show we talk about art, creativity, city life from a Latino perspective. I'm a visual artist,
And I'm a singer.
and this is episode 85.
As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and Spotify, and also on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And this is a special episode. We have a full episode interview with Mr. See TF. That's SEETF crew. You can find him on Instagram. On this episode, we have a conversation about his art, his techniques, and he reveals some tips for beginners.
So let's get on with it.
Back on the road again. All right, so on this episode, I have Mr. CTF back on this. I know that we talked briefly on a previous episode where we were at a wall painting with F. But this time I got you one-on-one on a long drive. Lately, I've been doing the long drive thing.
Yep, 1 hour and 26 minutes.
We're not going to talk for 1 hour. But on this episode, we are going to talk about, I want to talk about your process, man, because you are an aerosol artist who you've been specializing always on portraits and specifically women, faces, but also bodies. You do full bodies also. A lot of people shy away from doing realistic faces. It's a challenge. It's difficult. I know with spray paint, it becomes even more difficult. It's bad enough with paintbrush, but let alone with spray paint.
It's actually easier with paintbrush, right? You can control the brush much better than you can control a can, because with a can you got to worry about everything from the wind to the pressure to the can to the cap.
Exactly.
You know, with the brush it's just the medium and how you're gonna mix.
Yeah. When did you first do your first big portrait on a wall?
On a wall,
Yeah.
my first portrait on a wall was in 1987.
Wow.
I did what I thought was supposed to be a Baudet character, a girl with really big breasts. Her nipples were bigger than her nose. Because if you look at a Baudet character, the nose is just a little, it looks like a U
Right.
with a highlight on top. But the nipples come out like they look like freaking giant frankfurters. And that was the first time I had attempted to go ahead and do a character.
How did it come out?
I still look at it now and I cringe, but it's do you know what? It's about the journey. It's about the journey. And then the second one that I did was a She-Hulk in the back of Frank and Kay Lane around 87, 88, around there.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, with stress. Well, she didn't look nothing like She-Hulk except that she was green. Yeah, it was those things where you have to look back, and I'm just glad that I stuck to it.
What was the challenge back then? I'm sure you've overcome some of those challenges, but back then, what was your first challenge?
The first challenge was to get the paint. The
Okay.
second challenge was to do it on the wall without trying to get caught. and then after you're done, which was usually done at nighttime, and you can't see what the hell you blended in or mixed, you're hoping that in the morning time those colors were the right ones, because back then when we didn't have the Montanas that we have now, the Beltons, where like the color coded and everything else, you just, if you thought it was green, it may have been blue, who knows?
Yeah. No, I used to have those experiences, right? Not with portraits or anything so detailed, but back in those days, first of all, you didn't get to choose your colors. You got the colors you got.
You got the colors you racked.
Exactly.
Whatever colors you racked, you can't go in there and be like, oh, I need almond and beige
Nope.
and ivory.
Nope.
No, motherfucker.
Nope.
You got hot pink. You got pastel. What was that pastel? Like a green that looked like a little aqua.
Yeah, aqua.
Yeah.
Aqua green, yeah. That was a big
It
one.
was just like, oh, dude, when the icy grape came out, oh my God.
You were like
What?
that was luxury.
That was luxury. They had the avocado green,
Avocado green was dope.
the sunset orange, and then they were high pressure, so you will get that you will get that overspray where you knew that to make that red there was a little bit of like burgundy in there somewhere or brown.
Right.
And you get and if you didn't shake it right,
Right.
you got every color that made up that color.
Yeah, so, and I remember painting, even if I was doing lettering, that the next day I would look at it and be like, that wasn't the blue I thought it was.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the green I thought it. So you went ahead and started doing portraits or at least figures under those conditions. Why would you do that? Well, why did you think it was important to do it?
Well, back then, when we did our pieces, somebody always had to throw a character in there.
All right.
There was always a character in the middle or on the side.
And you stepped up. You said, I'll do it.
I started learning to it because Stress was the one who used to do all of the characters, and I got into back in the 80s. There was a magazine called Heavy Metal.
Yep.
And whoever was on the cover of Heavy Metal was usually like Olivia, Boris, Toroyama.
Yeah.
And you just like imagine that cover on the wall with your pieces to the left and the right of it.
Right.
But they never looked like that. You know, that was like what you aimed for. That was what you strived for. And that's what started my journey with it. You know, and then slowly I got out of the piecing with the lettering, and I got more into the characters. And then I discovered Patrick Nagel. Patrick Nagel was a big influence for me.
Patrick Nagel was a fashion illustrator who became famous doing very detailed cartoons of women, where he made them almost look like geishas because they were always very pale. And
they're all white with cat eyes.
Exactly.
Black outlines. He to me would be what I would say was the pop art of the 80s.
Absolutely.
He
100%.
did the album cover for Duran Duran, Rio.
Oh yeah.
He did a few things in there. He was the first one to catch my eye. Not the first one to catch my eye as far as wow, that's good. It was more like I think I can do that.
Gotcha.
Because it didn't have all those blends and all those colors. And then after Patrick Nagel, I discovered Mukai.
How do you say it?
Mukai. Mukai.
Mukai. Okay. I haven't heard of Mukai.
Mukai did something similar to Patrick Nagel, but instead of doing it with sharp outlines and sharp edges that looked more like it was silk screen, he would do something that looked more like a sketch with colors.
Okay.
And you can see the light and the shadows, but it was like a sketch. It was really rough, but it was clean. It was colorful. Everything that Patrick Nagel did, white face, but with movement.
Gotcha.
So it looked more realistic where Patrick Nagel was very flat.
Now I got to look up Mukai.
Yeah, his first name, I want to say is Dennis Mukai.
I was going to say Diego or Pedro, but it's right.
No, now then,
Paco Mukai.
after him, I started following more Boris and Olivia.
Yeah, they're fucking legends.
But then I came across Luis Royo.
Luis Royo, probably fucking.
What?
That was the end of that.
Oh,
Game
my
over.
God.
Luis Royo is a fantasy illustrator. His whole career is definitely fantasy illustration through the heavy metal circuit, the heavy metal magazine circuit of artists, and calendars, posters, graphic novel covers. The guy's done it all. Always sexy women, but I think his claim. What do you think it was made him stand out? What made it different than the ones that came before?
The fantasy art that he used was very dark with a lot of sepias and black. And he would use more of the charcoal and ink. but then he will make it pop with like a red tattoo or something, or like with a sword, with like a stone in the middle, or something like that.
Right.
The crazy thing about it is that a lot of the artists that I've actually that I followed, and I started to do research and follow their work and everything else, a lot of them started as illustrators for Playboy.
Okay.
To include Leroy Neiman.
Who's Leroy Neiman?
Leroy Neiman was a painter that he would use more of the knife, not too much brush, more knife, and he would do a lot
palette
of
knife.
and he would do more like I have a print of his that was done in 1979, I want to say, and it was in the Waldorf Astoria, and it was in the kitchen. And in the kitchen, you see them in the kitchen with the maitre d' standing there, the chef, and they're moving and everything else. There's no details. It's very it's almost like an impressionist type work. A lot of knife work, a lot of lights, and a lot of movement, and a lot of colors.
So thick impasto kind of painting and all that.
He would do like race horses with the jockeys on them, showing movement, showing speed.
Okay.
Look him up if you get a chance, Leroy Neiman.
Okay.
So Leroy Neiman, Patrick Nagel,
Luis Arroyo.
Not too much Arroyo, but I think also Mukai and Olivia, they were all the illustrators for Playboy. They had,
okay.
They had a area in the Playboy magazine where they would put 2 or 3 paintings of there.
I don't want to ask you why you had all these Playboy magazines, but okay.
It sounds crazy, but I used to get the Playboy magazines because of the girls, but I would always cut out all of the paintings that they did. Because we didn't have the internet back then.
Right. For the articles, right? Yeah, gotcha.
No. I bought it for the girls, but the only thing I would save are the paintings, and I still have them. So I still got all of the cutouts. I still have all of the cutouts.
All right, so listen. So you start this mission of like learning how to, paint figures, female figures, but also just figures on walls with spray paint. You start this mission. You have all this back studying that you're doing. You're researching. You're doing your diligence of like learning your skills and all that. At what point did you finally crack the code to say, okay, I can do this now, I'm good at this? Like, what do you feel? Do you remember a certain painting that you did, or a certain time period that you were like,
no, because
I'm here, I can do this now?
No, because I still don't feel like I'm there.
Wow.
Okay. I think that it's you have to be a fucking egomaniac in order to say, I'm there, I can do this, I'm the best at it. You're learning every single day, you're learning something different. It's the evolution. It's the evolution of not only the person, but of the artist, the evolution of how your eye starts looking at it, the different things in different ways. Just an FYI thing, I've never taken an art class in my life. I have never been trained. I never took an art class.
Nothing wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that?
I'm not trained. My training was in a layup in a train yard with my friends with spray paint. My trainings are watching, and this is where the episode of when I started going to 5 Points. 5 Points, I learned so much in 5 Points in there from watching you sometimes.
Only sometimes.
Yeah, because you were always in the lift all the way up. Who's going to watch you from the ground? But those were my classes, and I think that's what made 5 Points so important to me. More so is that it was a classroom. I got to see artists from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, different techniques, paint, and all you do is sit there and watch and learn. So although at that time I was already doing portrait work on canvas, and I was doing some work on walls. It was always a learning experience. You're always going to learn something new. You're going to learn how to use a cap, a spray paint, an angle, a roller, a brush. You're going to go through a wash. Always learn. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be embarrassed to ask. Because the thing about the graffiti side of the house is that it becomes a thing where we all go to the wall. Although we're friends, we're there to do the best that we can do, or what we would say, we're there to burn. And we're there to try to outdo each other in a different competitive realm. But you look to the left, you look to the right, the bar is set. But you can't think that you're so good that you cannot learn. I've learned shit from people that are half my age that just started painting. I'm like, what the hell? Nice. All right. And that's it. And you can. And I think the biggest problem that happens right now is that outside of your ego, because the reason why I'm saying don't let your ego get the best of you is because although you want to ask somebody, hey, can you tell me how you just did that right there? Your ego doesn't allow you to say that, because then you think that, oh, you're biting, you're jockeying, the guy's gonna be like, yo, I taught him this, I taught him that. You take it, if you can take it to the next level after that, then it worked for you. But if you never ask, you're never gonna learn.
What would you say are your do's and don'ts when trying to render women with spray paint on a wall?
Well, in the beginning, I used to look at shapes.
Okay.
I used to look at shapes. I used to look at. I think that we all start out looking at shapes. When we look at a face, we look at the round face, we look at the almond eyes, we look at the lips, and the graffiti writer in you wants to put an outline on everything. Everything has an outline.
Gotcha.
And that was my mistakes. That's what I'm trying to, I guess that's my don'ts. What I look at now, my do's now, I don't look at shapes anymore. I look at shapes when I'm sketching, when I'm trying to do like a composition. But when I paint, I'm painting with light. I'm looking at light. I'm looking at highlights and shadows. The wall that we just did now, I didn't have a clue what I was doing or anything else last night. I got in this morning, and I looked around. I saw something, because I knew that wall is rough, and you had to do something big. Because of the dent and everything.
The texture,
else.
The texture of the wall
and
was all.
I didn't want to spend too much time in there, because the wall is not going to last long. You know, a couple of weeks, a couple of months.
Right.
So I wanted to do something that was big and quick, and that's so I zeroed in on the girl with the pearl earring, because when you look at that in there, the main blends and focuses on the face, and that's it. And then after that, it's just browns and reds and gold and blue. You have to be careful who you paint with, because if the people to your left or to your right that you're painting with are not making you challenge yourself, then you're always going to just be really mediocre, and you're never going to rise to that challenge. When I'm painting with you, you're always like, just do it, man. But I'm like, dude, but I've never done it before. Fuck it, do it now. Try it now. You should just do it. And I'll get riled up enough that I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. You know, so
you choose this image today. You look
Okay.
for the reference. You say, fuck it, I'm gonna do this.
And then I get whatever colors I have that is closest that I have to the palette that I need, and then I improvise when I get to the wall. I grid because I want to get the proportions right and fast.
Where did you learn gridding from?
I just I read a book one time and that was it. That was what the book said. And I was always trying to freestyle it, and I was always like, one eye was slightly off, the nose was slightly off, however it is. And then when I grid, it saves me like 2 hours of sketching and going back and forth.
So gridding is a technique used by illustrators to where you grid.
Transfer.
Yeah, you do a scale up. So you're gridding your original reference with lines, equal vertical and horizontal lines, evenly spaced, that you will then create a grid that equals that on the larger scale on the wall, so you can scale up the image.
On your paper, for example, your square, the cube is going to be 1 inch by an inch, right?
Right.
All right, so your verticals are going to be 1 inch, your horizontals are 1 inch. Then you go to the wall and you measure the wall. And if you know that you need, for example, 8 boxes going to the right, then you measure the wall and divide the wall by 8. It may be 15 inches or it may be 5 feet.
Right.
It doesn't matter how big the building is or how big the wall is. You divide it into the even spaces. So if it's 5 feet, so now you're doing each square 5 feet by 5 feet.
Right.
And then you just look at like 1 1, it's a line, 2 2, and then you just keep doing it. And once you get to your once you transfer the sketch, then you clean out the lines, you put away your sketch, and you bring out your photo, and now your eye starts to work.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen you do your grid. Sometimes you get really specific and very accurate. Other times you just drop some loose lines that give you the grid, and you know that that's the lines, those are the grids, and you march ahead. Once you have your sketch and you've scaled up and you have your grid down and you have your sketch, what's the next step for you? Some people would go right into with spray paint. Other people would start doing the tones. What do you attack first?
I look at the face, I look at the image, and I start doing, in the military, it's called the typographical map. Typographical map is when you're looking at a map of the land and it's showing the elevations and the hills and everything with circles. So they look like a bunch of circles and circles and circles and circles. And if you don't know how to read it, you won't understand that you're going up a side of a mountain or something. Or like that there's a valley or a saddle.
To show the elevations.
Like right.
The elevations. And
so
the
what I
summit,
do
right?
is I look at the contours of the face and I put circles where all of my highlights go.
Okay.
So like I know that there's a highlight, for example, on the chin by the cheekbones and places like that, and then I see certain lines. That's where you got to train your eye to start looking at light and stop looking at shapes.
Right.
So I see certain light going in a certain direction. I start to like it starts to look like a map.
Okay.
And then I start with my midtones, which is like, let's say for example, let's use a grayscale from 1 to 5. You know, 1 being white, 5 being black. So my midtones will be somewhere around like
3.
2, 3, right?
Right.
So I'll start with that in there. I'll start to do the background so I can see the image. I'll start doing like putting the colors in the background, and then I'll go in on the face with my midtones, and then I'll start with my dark with my lightest to my darkest.
Do you prefer an image that has a high contrast versus low contrast, meaning hard shadows and that kind of stuff, or you have no preference? You go either.
I don't have a preference.
Because some artists only work with one style. They either like high contrast or they have like heavy shadows and all that, so it's got more information.
No, it doesn't matter. My thing is that I'm limited to what I can put on the wall because the public is going to look at it and everything else, so you have to be very careful. Like, as much as I would love to go ahead and paint some nudes and more revealing and stuff like that, I can't. That's something that I save for my canvases. So you can't go to the wall and like go ahead and do an S&M thing, you know, where But but when you think about it, the challenge when it comes to those things there, the challenges are crazy because you got to put metal, you got to put plastics, you got to put leather, you got to put the skin tones, you know, and that's the challenge. But you're stuck with painting a girl or a guy with hair and a seductive look, and that's as far as you can go unless you're gonna go to like Spain or something.
Right. What are the kind of things that let you know, like, okay, I'm getting towards the end of it? Like, what are like the sort of like the last things that you're like, I'm doing this now. I know that I'm kind of coming to the end.
Well, I don't use black and I don't use white until the very end.
Okay. So if I see you reaching for the black or the white can, I know that you're
close. I'm there because black is just like, I know some artists that would paint the whole face black and start working from dark to light.
Wow. Okay.
You know, which is pretty cool. I can't do that. I'll be lost. I've tried it and it's cool, but it's not something that I like. Because it's like you get a block of marble and you're gonna chisel out.
Right.
You gotta chisel out
the shapes and all that. Yeah.
So I like going from light to dark.
Okay.
But when I first started, I always thought that the white of the eyes are white. And they're not.
No, they're not.
But you have to train your mind and your eye to stop looking at it that way.
Right.
You know? So when I use the white, I use it only for the highlights. The highlight to make the roundness of the eyeball and to give it the shine of the glare.
And so you leave that towards the end.
That's the last and final thing. And unless whatever clothes they're wearing have some white in it, as far as like for the skin and the face and everything else, white is my last one. And then I try using every dark color possible that I can.
Without black.
And then at the very end, I'll put a little snip here and there, and it'll give it depth. And that's it. Now, a long time ago, I used to paint the whole background black because I thought that that's what it was, and it's not. When you look at a painting of Caravaggio, for example, he's an old school master. He's known for his dark paintings, and he brings very intense light out of nowhere. Like you will see somebody, like a girl decapitating a guy, and the background is all dark and black, and then you see the robe and the blood and the glare in the face and everything else. So to master the light and the dark in one setting from two different extremes is hard as well. But then you start reading about it and you start realizing that he never used black.
Right.
He made his with blues and browns. So it was never really black, but your eye thinks that it is.
So have you gone to the point of looking for those kind of spray cans? The spray cans that are like those funky mixed colors?
No, I've done it. I played with that. Like if you, like I did a Phoenix about 2 years ago, and it looks like the background is all black, and it's not. The background, it's all the darkest blues, the darkest reds, and the darkest the darkest green that I can find.
Okay.
And although when you're spray painting it on a wall, it looks black, but in the morning when the sun hits it, it reflects all the colors of the pigment. So it fucks you up, because at nighttime it looks dark, like a Caravaggio.
Right.
At nighttime it looks dark, but in the daytime you're like, oh shit, that's not black. There's purple in there. There's blue in there. What the fuck?
Right.
You know?
What subjects have you had the most difficulty with? Meaning, what figures or what? I know it's always mostly females that you enjoy painting, but what figures have you had a hard time with that you didn't enjoy and you were like, yo, I just can't paint this because it just bothers me, or just. What are pets? You ever been asked to do pets?
A monkey.
A monkey?
I painted a monkey one time.
What for?
I was doing a job for a business, and they wanted the indigenous animals of the country of the business.
Okay.
And we went with everything and did the lizards. I did an iguana.
How was the iguana?
Beautiful, bro. My favorite one ever. I don't ever think I can duplicate that ever again.
How big was it?
I want to say like 3 feet by 4 feet.
Okay. All spray paint or acrylic or?
No, it was brush.
It was brush?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did that. I did a sea turtle that came out beautiful as well. I did a bunch of them. Nice. One better than the other. I did these birds. These what, Amazonian cows or something.
Right,
like
a parrot. Yeah.
Oh my God, yo, bro. One was better than the next, right? Until the fucking monkey came along. Holy
What
shit.
was wrong with the monkey?
It was a spider monkey, man. Dude, you have to layer and layer and layer and layer the fur.
The fur. Okay,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
Fuck fur.
Listen to me. If you ever see a black lemur, that motherfucker is not black.
It's all kinds of grays.
He's got
blue
grays
grays
and purples and then you gotta show this. Oh my! And then try draw the eyes on that because the eyes, the fur comes over the eyes.
Right.
And then you want to draw a mouth, but you can't because this fur is fur every fucking way, bro. It's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever.
So what did you end up doing?
No, I did it, but it was just one of those. Your question was which one was the most challenging. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. I did a panda bear that came. That I must have did it.
Second
in like,
close, yeah.
No.
Oh, it was easy.
The panda bear it took what like an hour. That was easy as fuck. But the monkey, oh my God.
Now I know what to ask you to do for me.
Well, I challenged myself the second time around when I did.
Next one we do, you're gonna be like, yo, what theme you want? I'm gonna spider monkeys. All spider monkeys.
Oh my God. I did a jacket with a Frida Kahlo jacket and with a monkey on the side.
Oh, that's right. She had a monkey.
Yeah. So,
He's back. The monkey's back.
But I did Frida in the Salma Hayek version when she played her.
Yeah.
I think that's the most challenging part when you want to paint a woman, and in my personal opinion, it's not attractive.
Oh, okay.
And you're just painting sin gana. You're just you're like, oh God, why did I pick this? Why? So I tend to paint women because I like outside of the body, the shape, the pose. I don't care too much for. You know how you get those pictures where you know they posed like their hair is too perfect?
Yeah.
Playboy.
Yeah.
Playboy is known for that. I don't like Playboy models. Playboy models all had too much hairspray and fake boobs.
Controversial. Getting controversial here, man.
Penthouse, on the other hand, the makeup artist for Penthouse was a glam. I mean, they used dark lips. To me, I like those models better. So when I went to paint Frida, I'm like, I really don't care for somebody with a unibrow and a mustache.
Yeah.
Not to take away from her talent. I love her work and everything else. But
and she got a monkey. And she got a monkey.
But as something that attracts me, that I want to do, that I want to. No. That's why when I paint guys, I'm just like, I'll paint just to paint. It's not something that you can't tell me, hey, can you pick somebody up, fucking, I don't know. Can you make him look sexy? I have no idea what you mean by that. I'll put like a pinky in his mouth or something. I have no idea what you mean by that, man. But if you tell me to get a girl, oh, but I want her to give me that eye, that look, bite her lips, stick her tongue out, look up, stare at me, I can do that.
Okay.
You know, don't tell me to do that with like Magnum PI or some shit.
So now what about when you've painted famous images, celebrities and all that? Like, do you find those enjoyable or challenging? Do you do it because they're enjoyable versus challenging? Or like Marilyn Monroe, another famous person, whatever, you name it.
The challenge with that is that everybody's an expert now.
What do you mean by that?
Everybody knows what the image is supposed to look like.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you cannot go out there and paint the Marilyn Monroe and give her a crazy looking jawline.
Right.
Or you
can't take liberties.
Yeah, no. I had that problem when we painted in the hotel. When we painted in the hotel, I was doing what they call, I guess, finger painting.
Right.
I did a couple of iconic artists, Andy Warhol and Pink and Lee and Futura and them. And those I can bang out quick, but they were small. They were about, I want to say 12 by 12.
Okay.
And they were spray paint. So, but what I was doing was I was spray painting my fingertips, and I was painting it.
Right.
In that sense. I could not get Basquiat's nose through his nose or his eyes. I don't know if I was burned out. I got his hair, I got his outfit. I could not get his nose. Everybody knows who he is because of his hair and his outfit, but when I look at him, he looks like somebody I grew up with, I think.
He doesn't look, he's not a cartoon enough
to
make it easy.
It has no resemblance of him.
Right. He just looks like a regular guy. You
know who he is because of his iconic hair.
Right.
Do you know?
But his features don't.
But his features are not there, and that was challenging, and it just got to the point where, I guess I settled for, okay.
Right.
But I walked away. If I can go back tomorrow and fix it, I would. But I would bring a paintbrush.
Gotcha.
It wasn't...
Yeah. If you go back in, you're going back in to fix it.
No, yeah.
You're not going back in to struggle again.
No. And the thing is that it's hard to do a painting that small with spray paint.
Oh yeah, they were very small for spray paint. They were very small.
Yeah, no, but it was that was probably that's the hard part of doing somebody iconic. That anybody can look at and be like, well, just because he has a big pompadour doesn't mean he's Elvis.
No, I have always shied away from specifically famous portraits. I never liked it. Anytime I've been asked to do it, I stayed away from it. I always felt like I had a talent for capturing a gesture or a look in a person. If somebody asked me to do a figure or something from a photograph or something that looks like somebody, I would end up doing something that had an interesting gesture, an interesting stance, an interesting attitude, maybe an expression on the face.
Because it makes it easier to associate the painting with the picture?
Yeah, totally. Like if you ask me, I think, like for example, if you ask me to do a famous portrait of somebody and they're just standing still like a headshot, oh, it's gonna look like shit. It's not gonna look like anything. But if you ask me to do a famous portrait of somebody and it's in a pose that that is very cartoonish in expression. It's got expressive and it looks, because of the expressiveness of the photo, it resembles them, then it's probably going to resemble them because it's like, oh,
Yeah, but
I captured the
Yeah.
impression that they gave me.
yeah, but I'm gonna turn the tables shit around now on you. I own 2 paintings of yours,
Okay.
and I have them in my studio.
But those people aren't famous.
No, but you made them famous. And they were oils.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And when you are capturing a seductive look, a smile, a smirk, things to that effect, all it is lighting.
Yeah.
Lighting and shadows.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. I 100%
And I
agree.
look at it all the time, and outside of the obvious that the lakes are coming out this way, because you also paint. There was a point in there where you were painting women left and right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I still have some planned out. I still have some that I have planned out.
And-
I enjoy it too. I definitely enjoy the female figure on canvas, especially on canvas. Not so much on walls. I haven't gravitated to that. I don't know. I haven't gravitated to that. I enjoy what you do, but I haven't done that. But on canvas, I do enjoy it. I feel like it belongs on canvas. I feel comfortable with it on
I
canvas.
just think it's a way of, I mean, outside of the artistic shit and everything else, the painting and you know, you let out the energy and everything else. I just think it's a way of celebrating the female, not too much the form, but the beauty.
Yeah.
Because some of my favorites, my muses, I would say, are not showing tits and ass.
All right.
You know this. Monica Bellucci to me is my favorite one. And although she has, but
Your infatuation with Monica Bellucci is very uncomfortable.
yeah, but when you look at it, it's a lot of the stares, a lot of the smirk, a lot of the something like she's eating a grape. Now there's another one. Oh my God, I can't think of her name right now. She's an Italian actress, but she was a model first. Short hair, Rossellini.
Isabella Rossellini?
Isabella Rossellini.
Isabella Rossellini was the model?
Isabella Rossellini was the face for Lancome, I think it was. Lancome?
Lanco?
And I think she was doing Yves Saint Laurent or Versace like in the 80s and 90s. But beautiful woman. I mean, her pictures, her photos. And, but when you look at her regular, like, without the I guess the glam squad and the photographer and everything else, she's a very average woman.
Yeah.
But beautiful.
See, that's something else too. Like, to your work, there are some images that you've done that I've seen where it's very obvious, like, cheesecake, sexy pose, pinup poses, and girls showing off cleavage, or like, showing off their forms, like just their stance and their positioning automatically equals sexy. Done. I get it. But then there's some other ones that I've seen you do where you focus on the expression of the face, what you were just describing. A certain smirk, a certain look, a certain eye, gesture even with just the eyes, a certain gesture, a certain angle to the eyes.
To be honest with you, that's the challenge.
And I was gonna say, my point to that is, that's a challenge that people don't usually take, because it's a lot easier for an artist to get a reaction from people by doing a full pose. This thing with the eyes and the faces and all that, it reminds me a lot of what people talk about when they describe the Mona Lisa, where it's just a certain look to her face, but you're taking it to a modern place. Why that challenge? What do you like about that?
Do you know what it is? That it depends on, I think, on the subject matter, really. But I can look at 2,000 pictures. Out of 2,000 pictures, I would like to paint 20. Now, and they're all in different stages. Some are nude, some are dressed, some are headshots,
Right.
some are in compromising positions. It all depends on what is the conversation that you're trying to get.
Right.
So when the challenge is, I mean, the easy part is to draw something sexy, something revealing, and you're going to get an automatic reaction. But you're not going to get a conversation out of it. You're going to get a reaction. Oh shit, look at the tits on her. Oh shit, look at what an act. Oh shit. But you're not going to get two people that are going to sit down and go, that's beautiful. Look at the way she stares into God knows where. Look at how the light hits the areas and everything else. Now you're setting a different tone. Now you're setting, you're putting somebody, you're capturing a moment.
Okay.
You know, and you're building a conversation.
Okay.
The other one,
I could appreciate that.
So
Yeah.
you have to choose when you're painting. Do you want a reaction or do you want a conversation?
Gotcha.
Do you know? And
Yeah.
that's the difference. I mean, in my opinion, in my artwork at least, that's the easiest one. I'll get reactions just from painting freaking a stomach.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know? But the conversation comes in is how did you capture it? What colors did you use? How did the light come on? You know? Maybe you're gonna put like a little ring in her navel or something. Who knows?
Right. You know, so I think my last question, then I'll let you go back to driving. But
We got 41 minutes left.
my last question is this: have you ever painted from your own photography? Have you ever have you ever like taken photography seriously to say, let me take my own reference photos and use those photos for paintings?
That's what I'm working on now.
What? I nailed it.
That's my next. Within the next year, my short-term goal right now. Short-term meaning within the next 2-3 years. My short-term goal right now is to get a warehouse space and convert it into a gallery studio and a photo session studio as well.
Okay.
I want to paint, I want to show, and I want to photograph everything. That way I'm the owner of my images. That way I already know what I'm looking for. I just have to know how to use the camera and lighting.
Right.
But that's my next thing in there. You know, models, I know enough, I have enough. You can go into Model Mayhem and hire whenever you need it. But the space is what you need, and the lighting. And yeah. Now the thing that I'm doing now is I'm taking a photo reference, and I'm doing it as close as I can to the photo reference on a wall or on canvas. And once I'm done, once I got it, once I know that I can leave it the way it is, I put away the picture and then I freestyle it and change it like what I did today with the girl with the hoop earrings now.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to make her look more like not the painting anymore. Now I wanted to make her look more like a person that may live in the neighborhood, that may look like that. You know, so you start changing things up, and then I've been putting the hoop earrings just to make it look more like, I guess, a New York thing.
Yeah. No, well, listen, I'm curious now to see that when you start to use your own photo reference and take your own photos and choose your own models. What's the transition and how does your work change? Because I think you, by now, after having painted so many different images, you probably know what you're looking for. You probably know the look on the eyes, the look on the certain smile, the certain angles, certain pose, certain lighting.
outside of the artists that I mentioned that I've looked up to and I followed and I researched and I read on. I also do the same thing with photography. I can look at an Avalon, I can look at a Herbert's, Patrick DeMarcellius. I can look at all those their photos, and I already know the things. I love black and white. I have a thing for black and white paintings, and I want to get away more from the faces and work more on the figures with shadows.
Okay.
So I want to show more movement. Like right now, I'm working on 2 pieces at home, and the models are laying on the floor, and they were black and white, but very dark black. And what I'm doing is I'm doing the pose, and then I throw away the picture.
Right.
And then I'm putting in my own flesh tones and everything else in there. But the movement, like the back, the hips, the way the light hits it, that's what I'm trying to capture. It's going to be a very interesting year.
All right, man. So listen, I hope you share it with us. I definitely want to have more conversations with you about this once you start moving deeper into that. I think it's going to be interesting to see your observations and maybe learn a little bit from your new trials and errors and what you learn from the process. Because it sounds like you're getting ready to challenge yourself.
Yeah, no. I think it's just it's part of the journey. It's part of the. It's part of the evolution of who I'm supposed to be at the end.
Gotcha. Well, who you are, man. Who you are, not who you're supposed to be. Who you are.
No, I'm still a work in progress. I'm still a work in progress, man.
Listen, man. You're not a little whippersnapper anymore, man.
Yeah,
you're
but you know what it is?
The work in progress.
There's a thing. There's. I think there was a saying. I may not know it word for word, but it was something to the effect of every day I'm building myself to become the man that I'm supposed to be. Not the man that I am, the man that I'm supposed to be. And I think that's the same thing would apply to the artist.
I got you.
You know, every day you try something different, and when I'm gone, when I'm dead, and they'll look back at my works, they'll see the changes, and who knows, maybe in another 4 or 5 more years I won't be painting and I'll do photos only. Who knows? That's the interesting part, right?
All right, man. Thank you for sharing your stories, man, and we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you again. You're welcome to take a ride with me anytime. This is riding with Carlos. Riding with Carlos.
All right, man. All right. Another episode in the bag.
That's right.
Next episode, I want to talk about Inktober. We're in October right now. This is for all artists out there. You're familiar with Inktober, which is a full month, 31 days of drawing every day, doing an ink drawing every day. Mm-hmm. And I've been having a lot of fun doing it with my iPad. So I think that'd be a nice conversation for the next one. Get back into some art talk and get back into some technique stuff and some technical stuff.
Yeah, if you go to our Instagram, you're gonna see the process making of each Inktober.
Yeah.
And then also the final results. So
check us out, Cortesnyc Livestream on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.